Newcomers to Overwatch 2 will have to unlock all the old heroes, and that's a good thing. With the hero shooter sequel mere days away, Blizzard are ramping up the hype, and have revealed tons of new details about how the opening phase of Overwatch 2's competitive scene is gonna look. And it's a massive shake-up, especially for those of us who've been playing the original since 2016. So let's talk about the roadhog in the room. Newcomers to Overwatch 2 will start the game with incredibly limited access to what the game actually has to offer. Heroes, modes and more will all gradually unlock over time as newcomers acclimatise to the game. They won't immediately have access to every hero and every mode like those of us who played the original will have. First time players, and we can expect a lot of them with the game going free to play, we'll start by unlocking game modes and the ability to chat in-game before eventually gaining access to each of the game's heroes over time. Predictably, this was almost immediately hit by a wave of backlash as fans couldn't wrap their heads around why players would have to unlock old school heroes, most of which have been in Overwatch for close to 6 years. But here's the thing, it's actually a pretty good idea. For a start, this immediately addresses one of our biggest asks for Overwatch 2. Helping newbies get used to the game. To be fair, what we actually asked for was a more robust practice system where you could get insights into each hero, how they play and how they interact with others, but this is a step in that direction. Overwatch 2 is a complicated game with tons of moving parts to keep track of, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed, especially if you don't understand what role a hero is designed for or even what their ultimate does. By eking out each hero one by one, it gives newcomers the chance to try out each hero, understand how they fit into the role they're designed for, and get used to how their kit works before letting them loose into an actual competitive matchup. All newcomers will be match made together as well, so they don't have to worry about coming up against GM level players, just zooming their way to the finish line. It's simply a way for newbies who have never touched Overwatch before to get up to speed with everyone else before throwing them to the wolves of the quick play and ranked queues. And it's not just good for the newbies, it's great for established players too. For a start, if you played Overwatch 1, you'll get access to all the heroes anyway, so you don't have to worry about unlocking them. And by imposing this restriction onto any new accounts that boot up the game, this essentially ends smurfing overnight. You'd have to be a pretty dedicated smurf to slug through countless hours of mindless training on bots and other newcomers just so you could start playing competitive on a lower ELO account. And ultimately, it'll lead to less toxicity. Toxicity in Overwatch has always been a bubbling problem, and the devs, to their credit, have been working hard to tackle it. Completely deleting the general chat was definitely a good decision, and by removing newbies from the general population and placing them in their own little bubble where they can learn the game at their own pace, there'll be less newcomers put off by veterans hurling abuse at them because they didn't flank correctly or they didn't pocket their DPS properly. Blizzard have said that overall players should be able to unlock all the heroes in Overwatch 2 over 100 games. And since they'll also be getting experience towards the free track of the Battle Pass as well, unlocking Kiriko shouldn't prove too difficult either. Competitive ranked matches though will stay off the grid for all players until they've won at least 50 quick play matches and proven they've learned enough to cut it on the rank ladder. This restriction is a little more open to criticism since it applies to long-term veterans as well, and replaces the old system of reaching level 25 to play ranked. It's not going to be popular, and it wasn't in the GGRecon office, but ultimately it's trying to make the game fun for everyone. Newbies don't immediately get dogpiled by diving into the high octane, high expectations comp queue too early, and expert players don't have to worry about ending up in queues with players who have literally just downloaded the game. And with a new matchmaking system in place, the hope is that everyone will find a happy medium between having fun and being challenged to improve. Whether it actually works or not, we'll have to wait and see. You also won't be able to see your teammates' ranks anymore, so there's no piling all the blame onto the Gold 2 player because they're a tier below you. In Overwatch 2, you'll actually have to keep your eye on the game to know whose fault a loss is. All in all, these changes are designed for the good of Overwatch 2 and its player base. And if a decent training mode can be implemented to give newcomers to the game just that little bit of insight into each role and how each hero fits into it, then the hero shooter sequel will be the perfect jumping off point for veterans and newbies alike. What are your thoughts on the competitive changes? Do you think they're for the good of the game overall? Or would you prefer to jump into competitive straight off the bat? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for everything we have lined up for when Overwatch 2 finally arrives on October 4th.